All right, guys, so last time we talked about the fact that when we're trying to perform as an endurance athlete, the stiffer we are, the more economical an endurance athlete we are. So the question then becomes, how do we alter our economy with training, and what are the molecular responses to this type of training that are providing us with this adaptation that's going to be beneficial to our performance. And then because that's how we look at it, how can we support that using nutrition? And so that's what we're going to look at today. So by the end of this series of videos, you should be able to state the relationship between stiffness and economy. You already know that. You've already been able to do that. We're just going to reiterate that a couple of times. You'll be able to describe passive stiffness and active stiffness. You can do that already. That's not a problem. And again, stress strain curve from a normal tendon, that's that you have this compliant region towards the muscle, you have a stiff region towards the bone. That's not going to be new. What you're going to be doing that's new is state types of exercise that increase or decrease stiffness, describe the molecular mechanism underlying how stiffness is altered by exercise, state at least one, we're going to give you two nutritional interventions that can increase collagen synthesis, and name two genes that predict tendon injuries. All right, so that's what we're going to work through today. All right, so we're going to start by just saying if we want to increase stiffness, that's to increase performance, we're going to do fast movements. The fastest movements are going to be movements that are really quick plyometric movements like skips, jumps, bounding, all kinds of box jumping exercises, foot tucks, 5 jump tests, all of those types of things that you can do where you're basically changing direction as quickly as you can. Because what we want to do to increase stiffness is we want to have the highest possible jerk. Jerk is acceleration in two directions, so it's acceleration of the acceleration. Right? So if you're going up and you suddenly get a force that pushes you down, that's a jerk. If you're playing tennis and you're going to hit the ball and the ball's coming this way, you're going to get jerk. That's going to give you tennis elbow within the tendons of your elbow. Okay? That increased plyometric load or that jerk is what really causes tendon adaptation or some of these muscle tendon adaptations. If we want to decrease stiffness, I should say, what we're going to do is we're going to do slow contractions. And all that means is you can do slow lengthening contractions, you can do slow shortening contractions, or you can do the slowest contractions of them all, which is an isometric contraction. So slow lengthening contractions are just weightlifting done slowly. So if you lift a really heavy weight, that's going to mean you're going to move slowly. That means that you are going to decrease stiffness within the system. And you can see that in the assignment that I gave you. In B, what we're seeing these isometric contractions. We talked about them as a way to decrease tendon injuries because that's going to get load through the whole tendon. But those isometric contractions are also going to cause that shearing at the muscle end of the tendon. That's going to decrease stiffness at the muscle end of the tendon. Those are two separate things. The stress relaxation and the sliding at the muscle end of the tendon, those are two separate things. One is going to fix the tendon, the other is going to make the tendon so that it's less compliant at the muscle end. So this is bridges, planks, wall sits, overcoming isometrics where you try and kick out at something, any type of isometric contraction. Very hard contraction, very high load, no movement, no joint change, no change in the joint angle and when we're talking isometric contractions here, at least 15 seconds. All right, so just a little bit of data because again, I'm not a politician. I have to prove that what I'm telling you is true. Here's plyometric training. This is a study by Kubo. There's another study by Foray. There's tons of studies out there that basically say if you do plyometric training, your joint stiffness will increase. And you can see that here, and you can see that here from the control to the plyometrics. These guys compared it to resistance training. Your joint stiffness actually, this is a light resistance training. It wasn't really heavy. I would have expected if it were heavy to be somewhere down in here. Okay, I would have expected it to be a decrease in stiffness to some degree. And then you've got the opposite, which is to decrease stiffness. This is a control group looking at passive torque over time. This is a 6-week time period between measures. This is a group that was doing slow lengthening contractions. It's known as the Alfredson protocol for the Achilles tendinopathy. So basically all this is showing is that if you do heavy slow lengthening or you do light plyometric training increase stiffness, Slow, heavy training decreases stiffness, and that's exactly what we've talked about. So how is it doing it? As we said, it's shifting the stiffness of the muscle into the tendon component of this regional variability in tendon function. So when we do plyometric training, the myotendinous junction is loaded as a sheet. There's no breaking of cross links. When we do heavy slow training or isometric training, now there's sliding as we get that myotendinous junction, and the collagen molecules near the myotendinous junction slide past each other, and that breaks cross links. So in one case we don't break cross links, in the other case we do. And now we've got a difference because the cross links make it stiffer. Either type of exercise that we do, this is lysyl oxidase. This is the enzyme that adds the cross links. This is concentric, eccentric, or isometric training. This is in the tendon in panel A. That's your tendon. You can see that lysyl oxidase is going up 30-fold at the gene level by that exercise that you've done in the tendon. In muscle, lysyl oxidase also goes up. When you do light concentric movements, it goes up 2 to 3-fold. When you do eccentric movements, it goes up more than 10-fold. And when you do isometric movements, you can see that it's going up about 6-fold. So this is in proportion to the load across the muscle. So that's really cool, because what we're seeing in the muscle, remember from our lateral force transmission, we don't want any sliding between the fibers. So if we have a heavy load and we're getting a little bit of sliding, now what's going to happen is our body's going to come back and reinforce that extracellular matrix so that now we've got less sliding of those myofibers. Okay, so this is going to lock the myofibers in place. That's going to make it less likely to get small amounts of injury to the muscle. And then this means, so in panel A, we see in the tendon, whether you do fast plyometric training or slow eccentric training or isometric training, you're going to increase the enzyme that adds crosslinks. So in one situation where you're doing plyometric, you're not breaking any crosslinks, you're increasing lysyl oxidase by 30-fold. Now you're going to add new crosslinks. You didn't break any, so that means you're going to get stiffer. If you've done isometric or eccentric, yeah, you're increasing lysyl oxidase activity, but you've broken a lot of crosslinks. So now you're either going to stay the same stiffness or you're going to go down just a shade, but you're not going to go down a huge amount. So that's really how we're modulating the stiffness at the gross level. We're looking at this sliding for those slow contractions or working as a sheet for the fast contractions, the plyometric contractions. Plyometric contractions, there's no shear force between the collagen molecules, no breakdown in the collagen crosslinks, and the result is that when you then increase lysyl oxidase, you add more crosslinks, you didn't break any, number of crosslinks go up, stiffness goes up. When you do isometric or eccentric training, now we're getting that slow sliding, we're getting that shear force, which is going to break crosslinks. You've broken a ton of crosslinks. Now when you add lysyl oxidase back, you're either going to come up to the same level you were at, maybe a little bit lower, but it's not going to have a dramatic increase the way that you would see with the plyometric or these fast movements.